26, 2020. I call this meeting to order. I declare a quorum is present and the media has been notified. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Littleton. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting on April 28th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Ms. Bradley, to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on April 28th, 2020. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We're now on to agenda item 1D, approval of the minutes for the board workshop on April 28th, 2020.
Second. So moved.
All right, I got a motion from Ms. Littleton, a second from Mr. Ramsey. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We'll now move on to agenda item 1E, election of board officers. Mr. McQuillan.
Madam Chairwoman, I make a motion to approve the board officer slate with Sally Wofford as chairwoman, Mac McQuillan as vice chair, and Michael Ramsey as secretary.
Second.
Second from Ms. Littleton. So the slate from Mr. McQuillan is Wofford chair, McQuillan vice chair, Ramsey secretary, and the second is from Littleton. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
When was that slate drawn?
It's just a motion
Okay.
to put a slate up.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Nay.
7-1, the ayes have it. We'll now move on to agenda item 2, executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Littleton, a second by Ms. Conder to enter into executive session. The stated purpose of executive session is discussion of pending employment matters to include the appointment of an administrator and authority regarding pending litigation matters. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are now in executive session. Hey, Mac, I'll call you back. I will now entertain a motion to return to regular session.
Made a motion.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Bradley to return to regular session. I'd like to state for the minutes that no action was taken in executive session. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next up, we'll move to Agenda Item 4, Legacy Builders and Special Recognition, the District Teacher of the Year. Ms. Tanner.
Good evening, Chair Wofford, Dr. Ingram, members of the board, and all of you who have gathered here tonight. It is my honor to introduce you to the 2020 District Teacher of the Year. This is her first time being introduced in public, and our 2020 District Teacher of the Year is Ms. Judy Rainey from College Park Elementary. Ms. Rainey has been a teacher for 39 years and is currently teaching multi-age class of first and second graders at College Park Elementary. Her classroom is continually evolving because of the ever-changing needs of our learners and her constant desire to explore unconventional methods of reaching kids. In her room, learners are empowered not just to be participants in their learning, but to be designers of their own learning. Her principal, Amanda Prince, said, "When you walk into Ms. Rainey's room, you see and think innovation." So often in the school setting, we get so focused on academics that we forget about educating the whole child. For several years, Ms. Rainey has focused on implementing life and work skills and social and emotional skills that have a major impact on all students. In fact, her students were featured this year as News 2's Hometown Heroes for their charity work and classroom community. During the interview, one student stated, "I used to think superheroes are fake and just in movies. Ms. Rainey has taught me that I can be my own superhero, do good, and make a difference in the world." Ms. Prince recently asked another student, "If you could say one thing about Ms. Rainey, what would it be?" Her response, "Ms. Rainey brought something new to my life, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for it." As District Teacher of the Year, she hopes to inspire her fellow teachers to dig deeper into personalized learning and to have the courage to try something different to change the game of school. She feels strongly that our students will be ready to meet the demands of the real world and will feel confident in their abilities to be contributing members of our community because of their awesome teachers who are making a positive difference in their lives every day. So for the first time, Ms. Judy Rainey, 2020 BCSD Teacher of the Year.
Okay. Can I do this? I just had a couple of things wanted to say, if that's okay. Thank you, Dr. Ingram, Chair Wofford, and members of the board. This is so unbelievable to me. I'm still in shock over the whole experience. However, I am thrilled for this amazing opportunity. BCSD is filled with remarkable educators, and I am blessed to be part of the wonderful, innovative learning that is happening in our district. First, I want to give a huge thank you to Amanda Prince. I've grown tremendously over the past 3 years while teaching at College Park Elementary because of her positive and innovative leadership, her unwavering support, and her belief in empowering her teachers. I'm so fortunate and proud to be part of the College Park Elementary family that she has created. Without them, this awesome recognition would never have happened for me. Next, I would like to thank Amanda Cooper and Amy Hardison. The kindness and support that they've shown to all of the teachers during this toy process is so heartwarming. I can't wait to jump on board and learn from them. I would also like to congratulate Jared Crosby of College Park Middle and Carolyn Davis of Whitesville Elementary as district toy finalists. They are outstanding educators, and it has been such an honor standing next to them the last few weeks. I look forward to working closely with them. I want to also congratulate all of the 2020 Teachers of the Year. I'm so excited to join them in Teacher Forum and begin this new journey alongside such talented, innovative, and passionate leaders. I'm also looking forward to the opportunity to collaborate with Central Services and the board through Teacher Forum to continue transforming learning while creating a future we dare to imagine. This journey together is going to be such a fun ride. Thank you for this incredible opportunity and for giving teachers a voice and a seat at the table. So I'm so very proud and honored to represent BCSD. Thank you.
That concludes Legacy Builders.
Thank you. Next up is Agenda Item 5A, Citizen Comments. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to the guidelines. The first registered speaker is Jenna Kane, and the nature of the question is District 7. If you'll come up to the podium. Okay.
Thank you for waiting for me to get back inside. My name is Jenna Kane, and I'm here to speak on a couple of things. On February 12th, 2019, there was a Facility and Capital Planning Committee meeting with Dr. Anthony Parker, Consult of Capital Planning, to discuss future planning and recommendations. Excuse me, I'm out of breath from the stairs. He mentioned looking at short-range options and reviewing public comments on the district lines. He encouraged looking at a resolution from the board and council for viable funding of impact fees with developers. The map presented is broken down showing the amount of students impacted by this for schools, possibly splitting up the Sangaree area. He said 3 things. 1, typically when you do redistricting, you use definite dividing lines, geographical boundary opportunities, river, or something of that nature, or a major road. 2, what will this mean to the future? What impact will it have? Using 17 as an important boundary, and 5 years down the road, are you going to be looking at this again? 3, he said Stratford High School had capacity of 700 additional students. The Stratford district is really not growing. He said it's aging out from school-age kids. Numbers going down where the Kane-based school numbers are going up, going to be going drastically upward. Now I know this isn't Stratford, now I know this is not that meeting, but I want to reflect on a few words that were said during that meeting. At least we're not splitting up a street or a neighborhood where one side of the street goes to Kane-based schools and the other goes to Stratford. That was our biggest complaints. Hearing a lot of concerns being at that meeting, there are kids that have grown up together, and splitting up children did not sound like a real attractive thing to some of those parents and the children. It was also said you could see the angst that these children are going through. Using main highways as a boundary will cut down that kind of angst, and splitting up these children, you know, my friend is going to Cane Bay now, I have to go to Stratford now. There was a lot of concern, a lot of anger and angst. They didn't want to split up the Sangaree community. We needed to have a continuous all the way to 17A. Then, even looking at the map, the issue was pointed out in the middle, and it was stated, that's where we're going to be split up. It was also said, I don't want to say go here today, and then 2 years later, we're going to do something else. I want to make a long play for what the right decision is. Cane Bay is going to grow. They're going in numbers 140 to 150 per year because of natural growth. If we don't do something this year in a short period of time, we need to get it done as soon as possible. But here we meet today discussing the same problems for different students. We are discussing 10 different schools being in the mix, splitting up streets, communities, apartment complexes, and even single-family homes. Cane Bay Elementary, Whitesville Elementary, Westview Primary, Westview Elementary. Cane Bay Middle, Berkeley Middle, Westview Middle, Sangaree Middle, Cane Bay High, and Berkeley High. These are the 10 schools our children in District 7 are being directed to by the CAP, waitlist, and rezoning that went into effect this year. These are on my street.
Next up, Christine Ambrosiak would like to read a statement about current wait list.
I'd like to thank you all for being here today and allowing myself and other concerned parents and community members to speak with you. As we all know, change can be difficult. This board has had to make some very difficult decisions in order to keep our children of Berkeley County in a safe learning environment. This has resulted in changes that have led us to this point. Before you today are several people who are hurt and angry. For some of us, it has to do with property values. For others, it's a matter of our children now attending all different schools. I could continue to tell you about the issues that I'm having with my 2 children going to different schools. That despite me checking the website several times early in the morning with no luck, how I was finally able to get a timestamp for my son at 8:30 in the morning, only later to be called that afternoon by the school and being told that I need the long form of his birth certificate and not the short, even though the short was accepted last year with his sister. But you can't affect any of those challenges that were thrown in my path as a result of decisions that you made earlier in the year. And I am not the only parent facing them, so I'm not going to focus on them. Instead, I have a list of questions that I would like clear and precise answers to, not ambiguous ones. And I understand that you can't give me those answers now, but in a reasonable amount of time, I think it is okay to ask for them. I've emailed them all to all of you, and I'm also going to read them now. What time are the children being bused to Westview going to have to wake up to catch that bus, and what time will they be coming home? And how is this going to affect parents that take their kids to and from these schools? How is the school board going to help facilitate schools in providing emotional support to children who are attending Westview when everyone they know goes to Cane Bay or another school, and then help with the transition of those students when a spot is opened and they're able to then go to Cane Bay? Are school counselors prepared to handle this? Since my child is now attending the Westview schools, and I did not ask for it, but it was chosen for me, does this mean I also get to vote in that district's elections for school board? If you cannot guarantee me this, then how can you guarantee that my voice will be heard? You can't say that's what this forum is for, because as we all have experienced, if you can't vote, your voice doesn't count. You now have a monumental task before you and another decision to make. You have parents who are feeling helpless when it comes to those they are supposed to protect. You have a community who has come together wanting to help enact change, and those who feel their voice has not been heard. Your choice, what are you going to do with this army at your doorstep? Are you going to try and fight it, or are you going to work with it and form an alliance so that we together can write letters, emails, petitions, and get funding needed for more schools in the area? Are you going to help your community by showing us who we need to contact and speak with in order to ensure this doesn't happen again to families year after year? None of us are blameless in this situation, and none of us can fix this by ourselves. The real question is, are you going to fight for our children and their future and the future of countless other children by joining us? Or are you going to alienate this community by staying silent, not just by the concerns raised, but also on who else should be held responsible to help? Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Farrat, Cane Bay Schools. If I didn't say that correctly, I'm sorry. Hooked on phonics.
Hello, my name is Kim Falat. I am a resident of Cane Bay. My family moved here in the summer of 2019 for a better quality of life. We researched many towns throughout the Charleston area and selected Cane Bay for the schools and for the close social network and integrated community that this development provided. We knew that our children would thrive in a neighborhood with so many children their age around them, and that we as parents could develop relationships with our neighbors and other parents. Our children would develop well socially and build a network of people who care about them and watch out for them. Children who are friends in the neighborhood would be friends at school, taking the pressure off the classroom setting, allowing children to work on homework together, do classroom projects together, play sports together, practice band duets together, and support each other inside and outside the classroom. It takes a village, and we had found our village. This had quickly become a safe and healthy environment for our children and for our neighbors' children. Our village is now being dismantled as the new rezoning threatens to disrupt our children's community, their network that they have worked so hard to build. Despite living only 1.7 miles away from Cane Bay Elementary School, where my youngest daughter has attended for the past year, our street, a part of the Wildcat Tract, has been carved out of our neighborhood and rezoned to a school 12 miles away. My middle school daughter has been rezoned to a school 17 miles away. An arbitrary line threatens to separate my children from their classmates 1 block away in their same neighborhood. An arbitrary line says my children should be shipped 17 miles away from their community, when right now we can safely ride our bikes to our existing schools. I would ask that you consider zoning the Cane Bay schools based on proximity to the schools. The current map disrupts families and communities, breaking people apart. We are all well aware that school can be a mentally and emotionally trying time for children. The impact that stressful school environments can have on children can cause poor grades, limited opportunities, mental illness, depression, hopelessness, and antisocial behavior, just to name a few of these consequences. But having a community that is familiar and friendly helps our children to be successful and healthy. Breaking up families by sending siblings to different schools, or breaking up friends by sending one student to one school and their neighbor a few houses away to a different school, is placing an excessive mental and emotional burden on these students. This is an even greater burden since so many of these families are military or have relocated from other states and have already been displaced. As those children adapt and adjust to their new environment, the rezoning, lotteries, and sibling separation is eliminating the adjustments these children have worked hard to make and causing them to start all over with a new stressful environment. If we want our children to accomplish and achieve their best, if we want to nurture our children with a community that supports them, we cannot separate them from family and friends when rezoning based on proximity to schools will help to keep the community together and keep our children on a path towards their best possible future. Thank you.
Up next, Julius Barnes, the closing of J.K. Gerdine School.
Good evening
Good evening.
And Mr. Barnes.
to our chairman, Mr. Walford, and to our superintendent, to the school board members who are here. It's good to be here. I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about, I heard about the closing, the possibility of the closing of J.K. Gerdine School. That has been discussed, but the community have not really had any input in any of the discussion. I'm not here to fight the closing of the school. I'm here to work with you to see if we can work out where the students can benefit as a result of the closing of the school. Transporting students from one school to another is an issue that I'm hearing all around us. But we're moving in our area, in the area of St. Stephen and JK area, from one building to a building. If you move from JK Elementary to St. Stephen Elementary School, you move them to an old building, in fact, almost as old as this one before it was renovated. So I really would like to have the opportunity, and I think the community would like to have an opportunity to sit down with the superintendent and representative and others to discuss the future plans. And we're asking that you would consider that because communication have not been very good. And where there's no communication, the trust level really goes down. And that's key. We need to communicate because I think our interests and goals are the same, and that is the children and the education of the children. So I ask that you please consider that before any actions be made, that at least you respect us in the area enough to discuss with us the future plans. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Up next, Amy Alexander, straight line zonings. Worried about crowding? I'm sorry. You can tell us.
Yes, that's okay. Hi, I'm Amy Alexander. I was just going to ask a couple questions, especially with Dr. Bradley, or Miss Bradley. I don't know if is it Dr. or Miss? Miss Bradley, sorry. I just wanted to make sure, I know there was a statement made a while back that you said that you like straight line zoning. I was wondering what happened to that, what changed to make it where now we have one zone that has 10 different schools? I just would like maybe an understanding, because I know that we're all upset about it, but maybe a better understanding of why this was decided. Maybe that would help us understand. I mean, it still doesn't make sense. I have 3 kids and now I have to go to 3 different places. With that, having 10 schools in one zone, how is the buses going to work? I have a 5-year-old now that's going to be going to Westview. Is he going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get shipped? I've been told it's going to be picked up around 6 something or 6 in the morning, going to go to Cane Bay Elementary, then go from Cane Bay Elementary to Westview, or Westview Primary is actually what it is. So and then whenever he comes back. So normally 5 kindergartners eat about 10:30 in the morning, a lot of times their lunches. So that means from 10 or 10:30 in the morning, he probably won't get home until around 5 or so because of the buses. So from 10:30 to 5, a 5-year-old's not going to eat. I don't feel like that's something that's really that great neither. Last year, they threatened to take our buses from us because we live so close to the school, and now they're going to have multiple buses for different schools coming into a neighborhood. And then, I mean, and I'm not trying to target you, it's just, I've heard that you're the one that voted for this. You've made statements that it's not the school board's fault that so many people, so many families live in Cane Bay. I used to live back outside of Holly Hill, and I would write every year to the school board to be able to get my kid there. So instead of having to write and beg, I did the right thing and moved there so that my kids could go to school there. And now they're all divided. I should have stayed where I was. I had 5 acres, I had land, I had animals. I gave all of that up for my kids to be able to come to school here. And now I live with an HOA. I've never in my life lived in a neighborhood, and now I have to. I mean, I gave up so much for no reason. I should have stayed where I was and just wrote, because I could have got in a lot easier. My big concern, like I said, is the buses. I just don't know, how is that cost? I mean, how much is that going to cost to have 10 schools for one zone? So you're going to have my kid picked up. I mean, I just don't even know how the funding's going to work for that, how it makes sense. And then also one last thing, I know I'm running out of time. I was wondering, well, it's actually 2 things. For next year, since he didn't get in this year, am I going to have to fight next year to try to get him in for 1st grade? And then another thing is, for the lottery, I was told there was 188 spots, and then when they did the drawing that day, it went down to 174. Where was the difference in that? Which it doesn't matter, he's got 45 people still ahead of him. But thank you all for your time.
We'll now move on to agenda item 6A. Action is required from executive session. We'll start with Mr. McQuillan.
Madam Chairwoman, I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Dr. Anthony Dixon as the Executive Director of Academics and Innovation with a contract to take effect July 1, 2020.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. McQuillan, a second by Mr. Ramsey to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Dr. Anthony Dixon as the Executive Director of Academics and Innovation with a contract to take effect on July 1st, 2020. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. Dr. Dixon. I know the Philip Simmons community will be very sad for you to leave Philip Simmons High School, but the change you can affect globally at Berkeley County School District is very exciting. We're glad to have you working for Dr. Wolf. Congratulations. And we like to photo op too now. You got to stand up so Katie can photo op it. Thank you. Next, I'll move on to Ms. Kelly.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Tara Baker as the new principal of Sangaree Elementary School with a contract to take effect on July 1st, 2020.
Second. There is a motion by Ms. Kelly, a second by Wofford, to accept the recommendation of the administration to name Ms. Tara Baker as the new principal of Sangaree Elementary School with a contract to take effect on July 1, 2020. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. Ms. Baker, did you bring somebody with you? Well, it is a full family commitment when mom becomes principal, so
Sure.
I'm not the coronavirus police. We would love to have a family picture. We're glad to have you, Ms. Baker. Congratulations. Last action from executive session, I think Ms. Condor has.
Yes, Madam Chairman. We received an update on pending litigation regarding the district in the Berkeley County School District versus Hub, Berkeley County School District versus Green Finney, and the Berkeley County School District versus Compass, Municipal, and Borough Foreman. I move to give the chairwoman and the superintendent authority consistent with the terms discussed in executive session.
Second?
Who got it? Ramsey? Okay. Motion by Ms. Condor, second by Mr. Ramsey. To give the chair and superintendent authority consistent with terms as discussed in executive session. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We'll now move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Ingram?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, members of staff and audience. We are working hard on planning for reopening school this fall. I do expect some guidelines and recommendations, and they are recommendations, I want to stress that, from the state, either at the end of this week or early next week. All local superintendents will have a call with State Superintendent Molly Spearman tomorrow morning at 9:30, and hopefully she will reveal some of those guidelines to us. We will be making our facilities available in conjunction with existing agreements of local parks and recreation municipalities on June 8th. So Parks and Rec and those folks that use our facilities for summer, we're going to do that on June 8th. And we have about 10 churches that use our facilities. And we've determined that June 7th would be an appropriate date, Sunday, for churches to resume those that rent our facilities for church services. So wanted to make that announcement. Pending approval of state funding, that's still a little bit up in the air, but we may be asked to adjust our instructional calendar for this coming year, 2021. We potentially could be starting school 5 days earlier. That would be funded by the state. If that happens, we've been asked to use those days to address social and emotional wellness of our kids, to review where appropriate, and for academic assessments that we need to make for placement. So still waiting on the final word for that, but maybe coming to the board to ask to adjust our instructional calendar. I want to make it clear that those days are for kids, not teacher work days. Those days will be for student instruction. But again, have a lot up in the air about that, so we'll just have to kind of wait. And also, I thought this was a moot point, but we still are going to have to forgive 2 hurricane days. We've been out of school since March 16th, but we're still going to have to ask you to forgive 2 hurricane days from Hurricane Dorian. That seems like it was 10 years ago, but it was earlier this year. We are in the e-learning pilot, but we will have to do that, Diane Driggers tells me, for Power School purposes to make sure that we reflect a 180-day school year. And so I plan to ask you for that formally early June. So hopefully that would not be a problem. You have the ability to forgive up to 3 days, I think, and we're asking for 2. But now that we're in the e-learning pilot, we shouldn't have to do that. I've finally been able to give you some numbers on student engagement, and we know that e-learning, we're kind of building the ship and sailing it at the same time, but I think this is of significance. We've had a total of 97.2% student engagement with our e-learning, which means out of our 37,199 kids, we have 36,257 that have participated. Now, that still leaves 942 kids that have been unresponsive, and we have worked really hard at individual school levels to make contacts by teachers, administrators, counselors, social workers, and we'll continue to do that. So we're never satisfied with that, but overall, 97.2%. And we've had 8 schools that have had 100% of engagement from their kids, and I would like to mention those 8 schools, if I may. Howe Hall Ames with 100%, Phillips Simmons Elementary with 100%, Westview Primary 100%, Westview Elementary 100%, Westview Middle 100%, Hanahan Middle 100%, Marrington Middle 100%, and Berkeley Middle College 100%. So kudos to the teachers, the parents, the kids, Dr. Wolf and her staff to have such a level of response at a moment's notice. We really didn't have much time. I think being in the e-learning pilot helped us. We know it's not ideal, but I hear stories from some of my colleagues in other parts of the state that don't have the technology we have, and quite frankly, some have been sadly staying somewhat idle during this time, and I don't think we have. I know it's tough. I've had some parents say, can we please cut the school year off? We're at a point where we shouldn't be introducing new learning now. At this point, we're collecting items and we're also reviewing and those kinds of things. So thank you to the parents who are in the audience for helping us with this, and we'll continue to work to make it better, and thanks to everybody. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report for tonight.
Board meeting dates. You got an action item? Board meeting dates.
Oh, board meeting dates. I'm sorry.
I don't know who has them.
I don't know who has them. The dog ate my homework. I don't have board meeting dates up here. I've got it on my agenda, but I don't have the list.
They're posted on board docs. They're posted on board docs.
And naturally, I don't have my computer open.
All right, so it's a first reading of the 2020-2021 board meeting dates. Does anybody have any questions over the 2020-2021 board meeting dates? Discussion. I move to accept the first reading of the 2020-2021 board meeting dates as posted in board docs.
Second.
There's a motion by Walford, a second by Ms. Littleton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We'll now move on to agenda item 8A, upcoming dates and events, board chair report. There was a video posted for Head Start training, and also in your folder tonight, if you've taken that training, there's a hard copy to sign for our records. If you haven't taken it yet, it's still available, so please sign it and get it to Lacey. We'll now move on to agenda item 9, committee assignments. No temporary committee assignments required. We have quorum for all committees. I'll now entertain a motion to recess for committees.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion by Ms. Littleton, a second by Wofford, to go into recess of the full board to enter into committee meetings. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are in recess for committees. Next is Ms. Conder, Academics and Innovation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm calling the Committee on Academics and Innovation to order. I declare there is a quorum of committee members present and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. The first agenda item is the Head Start Budget Expenditures Report for March 2020, Credit Card Report for March 2020, Head Start Supplemental Summer School SF 424 application. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the Head Start Budget Expenditure Report for March 2020, Credit Card Report for March 2020, and Head Start Supplemental Summer School SF 424 application.
I second that. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 3-0. Second item agenda is the 2020-2021, that's a mouthful, Berkeley County School District adoption of state textbooks, second and final reading. Dr. Wolf, you're recognized.
Chair Conder, Dr. Ingram, members of the board, I bring back to you for consideration second and final reading of the 2021 adoption of state textbooks for CTE, Social Studies, grade 3 and 7, Math, K-5, and 6-8.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the second and final reading of 2020-2021 Berkeley County School District adoption of state textbooks as provided.
I second that motion. All those in favor, or is there any discussion? Excuse me.
I have a question about the 5th and 6th grade social studies textbooks. It's my understanding that the state did not fund those textbooks, is that correct?
That is correct.
So that's the purpose in not having any discussion about that.
That's correct. And they also gave a waiver this year. We were to implement, or this next year, the new standards, and they have waived districts to go back to the 2011 standards for one more year.
I'd like to make a point of clarification, point of order. From the last meeting, I recall a statement being made that we didn't have the funds to actually purchase any textbooks. Well, that's a misnomer because school districts do not purchase those textbooks. They're allocated by the state. Now, it is incumbent upon each district to make sure that we take care of those textbooks. And if we lose those textbooks, we have to pay for them if they're lost or damaged. But I wanted that clarification because the public may believe that we have to purchase those textbooks, but we are a part of the state of South Carolina free textbook program. I just wanted to make that clarification for the public.
Thank you, Mr. Barrow.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries 3-0. Third agenda item is the 2020-2021 Local Board Approved and Innovative Courses First Reading. Dr. Wolf, you're again recognized.
Thank you. The South Carolina Activity Coding System requires that the board approve innovative and locally board-approved courses yearly. Attached, you will see the proposed local board-approved courses. We do not have any new courses this year for consideration.
Okay. Do I hear a motion? I'll make a motion to approve, hold on just one second. Help me word this.
Yeah, I can do that. Motion
Okay.
to approve the first reading of 2020-2021
Thank you.
local board approved and innovative courses should they come available.
Right.
They are, we just need to do first approval of the list that is provided for local board-approved courses.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 3-0. The fourth agenda item is the administrative recommendation to deny all foreign exchange student requests. Dr. Wolf, you are again recognized.
Thank you. Berkeley County School District's policy JQKA, foreign exchange students require sponsoring organizations to petition the board or the board's designee at least 3 months in advance, leading to the enrollment for consideration for the admission of a student into the program. With the current state of COVID-19, also considering our budgets and not knowing where the state and our local budget will fall because these are budgetary dependent programs, we are recommending for consideration that all requests for foreign exchange students be denied temporarily until further request of administration.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve administration to deny foreign exchange student requests until further request by administration.
I second. All in favor? Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have some discussion or some questions on that, because was this an issue that, because it's only involving high schools, was this brought before the high school principals for their discussion and for their approval, or were they all satisfied with this resolution?
I don't know that it was brought, and I want to defer to Dr. Gelman because she does, this does come through her office.
I have spoken with all the high school principals, and they supported this, and they were willing to wait, until later on to make the final decision. We have possibly 8 students that we consider. I have not received all the applications at this time, but they will,
Well, in light of the policy, this couldn't be reversed because it requires a 3 months limitation for approval in advance. So this is almost the 1st of June. If we approve this, there's not going to be any room or any wiggle room later on, because the policy stipulates a 3 months hiatus or responsibility time to actually make those requests known. And to be honest with you, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with it at all. I as a former high school principal, I think the foreign exchange program was a good one, and I don't know that the district needs, or the school board needs to be making policy decisions that affect the local high schools. I think we ought to leave it up to the high school principals along with their school improvement councils to
Mr.
determine.
Barrow, it's actually, the policy calls for the board to approve it. It just hasn't previously been brought by the cabinet to the board, but the policy calls out that the board has to approve it, and it directly stipulates that the board has to approve it because there is no funding for foreign exchange students. So we locally fund foreign exchange students. So I don't know why we haven't heard it as a board. Maybe we need to change the policy so the principals do handle it directly, but the policy that's currently enacted puts the burden on the board.
I thought it was the superintendent.
It says the board.
Well, and I value the foreign exchange program as well. My concern is beyond funding, and that's whether children are going to be allowed to travel between different countries in our current situation. And I would be concerned if it was, because our children are traveling to other countries as well. And so until this current environment is taken care of, it says just until further request by the administration, so.
I think that's the major concern here, Mr. Barrow, is whether or not, right now there's if I'm not mistaken, the president has stopped some foreign travel. So we have to take all of these issues into consideration. Not that I don't want to have the program, I myself, I love the program, but we have to take into consideration those issues from higher powers, such as they are, that could reflect on how we can handle this. So I think tabling it for the time being is the more appropriate decision.
And Mr. Beer, the policy is JQKA. I'll tell you, I got an education in this today because I didn't know that it was in there, but it specifically calls out for the board to make the decision. It is budgetary dependent. And it does say 3 months advance notice of enrollment. My concern is if we say yes now and people invest in planning to come to Berkeley County and then something changes and now the children can't come and they plan to come here. I'm more concerned about we say yes and then the state guidance or either you're not allowed to travel. I still actually keep in touch with 2 kids I went to high school with, one from Russia and one from Italy, so I value the program greatly. We're trying to follow the policy and balance out the right thing for our kids and for the kids who are going to travel here. Well, I'm not sure we don't need to completely revisit the policy. Once we're at the end of this, because policies you don't follow to the T are probably not good policies. So we are working to follow that policy directly. So it would just be a temporary stay. But I do hear Mr. Barrow's concern that 3 months is 3 months. So if you say no now, even in August, kids couldn't come. How 8 applications, Dr. Bellman?
Yeah, I believe the president just imposed some travel restrictions on Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. Right.
Do we have any indication from the State Department how the state of South Carolina is going to recommend this?
No, ma'am, I've asked that question. I asked that question today. I don't know what the answer will be tomorrow. I'd hate to speculate. But Superintendent Spearman will certainly address that because, to my knowledge, no one has asked that question yet. And I value the program too. I really do. It's just, we're in uncharted territory and it's just kind of difficult to know exactly what the right thing is, you know. And I just try to put myself in the shoes of a parent. You know, a child gets over here, then all of a sudden something unforeseen happens. I don't want to speak anything into existence, but then there might not, you know, be a good way to get people home or something like that. So again, that's why one of the reasons we brought it to the board, because in my opinion, several heads are better than one, and I know it's a difficult call to make, but again, we're basically asking for something temporary until we can kind of get our hands around it.
So let me get this straight. The policy requires the board to have approved all of the prior years for the foreign exchange program, but the board, to my knowledge, has never done that. So in the past, were those foreign exchange students here illegally or illegitimately, or did the board have to?
I think Chair Lady Wofford explained that, Mr. Barrow.
She said the board had to approve it, and it has not approved it in the past.
I think she explained that to you.
Administration has never brought it to the board to be approved, and we have a new chief academics officer who follows exactly every policy. So I don't know if in the past the board named a designee. I don't recall ever hearing this since I've been on the board. And I don't recall reading this policy until I was researching for to prepare for the meeting.
I just feel like the high school principals, in conjunction with their folks at their school, need to be able to make that call for their clientele and for their community, in conjunction with the School Improvement Council, with the Faculty Advisory Board. So if we're going to do this arbitrarily for everybody, we're just taking and usurping some of that building level.
Barra.
I haven't finished, Ms. Conder.
Well, Mr. Barra, I'm chairing this committee, and I want to explain to you that if you feel a need for us to change the policy, then maybe we can address that at some point down the
Well, you
line.
have interrupted me, and I haven't interrupted you, Ms. Conder. I have finished my discourse. I just wanted you to know that I am totally, adamantly opposed to this.
Duly noted. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
The motion carries 2-1. The fifth agenda item is the virtual programs expansion. Dr. Wolf, you are recognized again.
Thank you. Wanted to first say that I am so proud of all of our teachers, our students, parents, administrators, assistants that truly got e-learning off the ground. It was a moonshot, and I feel like there are so many silver linings that occurred. The one thing that really came out is that what we learned is students who really like to be in the building for education really struggled during an e-learning experience. And then we had a lot of students who were struggling during third quarter and went to e-learning and flourished. They loved it. And then we had everyone in between. So we had a lot of conversations within Central Services about that we've been personalizing learning for students, creating personal pathways, but we've been doing that in a brick and mortar sense for kids that are in traditional education, and that we really need to start looking beyond just traditional education and how we get to 21st century learning. So we started talking about how we can truly personalize learning in a virtual learning experience and give different pathways for all kids. That's flexible, adaptable, it's customized to students' true learning abilities. So in the fall, we have the ability to offer education in a traditional sense, traditional brick and mortar. We also, with our new learning management system, have the ability to offer virtual. If a student wanted just to do virtual, we can pull those kids back that are being homeschooled and offer that option for them. We also have the option to be able to offer if kids want to blend learning. So they could be doing a portion of that in traditional, they could do a portion virtual, and then we can do everything in between in terms of just a combination. So we looked at creating pathways out for students. Our registration is going to open up in June, and we're targeting different groups of kids. The first pathway is just a progressive learning pathway that if a student wanted to continue on a virtual, we can register them to continue virtual. The second pathway is a transformational learning pathway, and that really is replacing out Star Academy. We're going to target those middle school students to get them caught back up. They've kind of come off their path, but we're going to put that in place and utilize our learning management system to get them back up to speed as they go into high school. And then our resilient learning pathway is really designed for that credit recovery. Right now, we've got an agreement with South Carolina Virtual. It's our own franchise, and we're doing that for core content, but we have the ability to expand that out to all kids. And then our last pathway is the remote learning pathway, and those are more administrative placements. We really need an alternative school for our elementary kids that are being expelled, but we don't physically have the room for them. So we have the ability to offer up virtual for those kids that are going to be expelled, and then pair that with social emotional learning components, as well as our medical homebound and our home-based students. So we're excited to go into the 2021 school year to offer multiple pathways for all kids.
Dr. Wolf, I'm aware that there's some kids that are self-contained who have really excelled during this time. Kids who can't even go through a whole day of school and aren't earning credits, are earning credits because of this program. And not kids that can stay at home all the time because the parents don't have access to resources to be able to make that happen. But the idea of having combined where they can be in the building and not having to interact a lot with individuals, but do it online. So there's a child in particular that I know that's 14 years old that has never earned a credit and has not been through a whole day of school and got an A in a science class because of the e-learning. So to combine those is just awesome.
Thank you. The potential is amazing, and I think our job is to meet the needs of every child, and that's really what we're trying to design.
I really think this is going to help us in the fall as we navigate going back to school. There are certainly children who are immune compromised. There are parents that are immune compromised. This will certainly give us opportunities to serve those children in a different way until maybe that's how they're successful, or maybe they use this until they're able to return to a building. But I really think it opens an opportunity for us to meet our community and our kids where they are in August, and not, because we know one size does not fit all. And COVID-19 has made it even more obvious that one size does not fit all, but we're really going to be able to meet the needs of people even in August that don't feel comfortable until there's a vaccine. We're going to be able to educate those kids. So this is very exciting to me. There are certainly people who would send their kids back to school tomorrow, but we know that there are grandparents and parents and children that are going through chemotherapy or have other autoimmune deficiencies that are very concerned about their kids going back to school. This is huge. I had not heard about self-contained. That makes my heart even warmer. To really, and we've talked before about a true alternative education, and this is going to give us an opportunity for that. So thank you.
Yeah, we're living in a very strange time, and a lot of the negative stuff that we're having to deal with, and when we can take a negative and turn it into a positive, that's always a good thing. And I feel like that's what you've done here, Dr. Wolf. And I appreciate the work that you've done on this. I appreciate the programs that we're talking about implementing. And I think also, too, that probably the community is going to appreciate it a lot, too. We are the voice of our communities that we represent. And we appreciate everything that you're doing to help facilitate the learning process for all of our children, not just some, but all of them. Thank you again.
Thank you. It truly is a team effort with central services across departments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this committee meeting so that the Finance and Human Resources Committee meeting can begin.
Second.
Did you make the motion?
Oh.
I'll make the motion, you second it.
There you go.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
I am calling the Committee on Finance and Human Resources to order. I declare there is a quorum of committee members present, and note that the media has been given proper notice pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act. Our first agenda item is the 2020-2021 supply and travel allocations. Ashley Smith, you're recognized.
You got it on your screen?
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Dr. Ingram, and board members. Administration is requesting approval of the school level supply and travel allocations as presented.
What is the pleasure of the committee?
I move to approve the 2020-2021 supply and travel allocations as presented by Ms. Smith.
Second. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is approved by a vote of 3-0. Our second agenda item is RFP 561-19-20, Workers' Compensation TPA Services and RMIS Software. Ms. Smith, you are recognized again.
Thank you, Chair Ramsey. Human Resources and Finance staff have been exploring the cost-saving options of switching the district's workers' compensation coverage to a self-insured program. This solicitation was issued to secure a third-party administration service to provide claims review and a claims management software program that will be required for the district to complete the transition to a self-insured program. Scott Thomason from Gallagher is here this evening to present the workers' compensation proposal and to answer any questions that you may have about this transition.
Thank you. I've got 45 slides we're going to review this evening. Just kidding. Let's now move forward. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. We're going to be brief here, talking about your workers' compensation program. A brief history, Gallagher was procured through a formal process a few years ago to be your new trusted advisor and risk management consultant, including the placement of insurance policies. And in 2019, we performed a feasibility study looking at your workers' compensation program, and we did a study for self-insuring it, and the results were very favorable. So we worked with staff to come up with a committee and to review the self-insured program options. Just a couple highlights on this slide is you currently purchase workers' compensation coverage through the South Carolina Schools Insurance Trust, and you have paid on average about $1.4 million in premium with a $50,000 deductible per occurrence. And in the last few years, your staff, notably Tina, Steve, and Linda, have really put together a formal safety program and a policies and procedures that we would deem to be best in class to really look at how do we mitigate the claim once it happens, but more importantly, what can we do to help staff, teachers, and administrators avoid having workers' compensation losses. And so we've seen a very favorable result from that in the last few years. So we've seen a trended downward claim history, and your premium has gone up, so it's been the reverse. So when we take a look at your self-insured program options, and we call it protected self-insured because you're buying stop-loss coverage, and you'll see the highlights in a second. The key provisions of a self-insured program is you own it. You control your claims process. You have more input, more direction, and you get better outcomes. You get better outcomes with the injured employees, with the medical providers, and the staff. The long-term savings is tremendous. The larger school districts and entities do this because it's best in class. And you get the risk management support when you unbundle it, and you get the best-in-class providers. And the recent experience we have with other entities has been extremely favorable. So when taking a look at your 10-year history, this chart represents your workers' compensation claims in red, and in blue is the actuarial analysis done to say what the net ultimate claim is going to be. And you can see, looking at the numbers, around $2 million. It dipped down below. We had an adverse year in 2015. But for the most part, it's running around $2 million or a little bit less. So having said that, this is a summary of the program cost comparison. And so let me highlight a couple of things, which is your forecasted South Carolina Schools Insurance Program is your fixed cost is $1.6 million. And your deductible is $50,000, and you add in losses of 1.1 million, your total cost of risk is right around 2.77 million. With the self-insured program, with a deductible of $400,000 instead of $50,000, you retain most of your losses now in this model, and the model suggests that the fixed cost runs just shy of $400,000, and your claims would be 1.9 plus million for total cost of risk of under 2.4. So on a comparable basis, the savings estimate is just over $400,000, and Miss Ashley likes that number, as you should too. So we're looking at, okay, it's a little bit different. What's different? What if we have a good year? What if we have a bad year? So trying to summarize all this data here is scenario C is the projected year. The last couple of years you've had scenario B, which is a savings of over $500,000. Your worst year was just at $2.5 million. You still would have saved money. So historically, you would have saved a lot of money over the last 5 years had you been self-insured, but you were very well positioned to take on a protected self-insured program. Any questions?
Who approves the workman's compensation claim or disapproves it?
So that will be done by the claims administrator with authority level set internally.
At the district level?
Yes.
How many companies actually bid for this product, Marcy?
For the TPA services, we have one company offer a turnkey program, and another company offers just the software.
Okay. What other districts do you work with on this particular program?
Well, we have many public entities that are under a self-insured model. Beaufort County government was a recent experience in South Carolina. We have Greenville County Schools under a self-insured model, just to name some.
Okay, so it's $68,000 a year for a 7-year period, is that correct?
$68,000 is the estimate for the claims number. So if you look at this chart, we estimated $68,000, which is the claims TPA portion, based off of your historical experience.
So it's a projected amount?
That's
that
correct.
could
So if you have
fluctuate.
less claims, you'll pay a little bit less. It's not a fixed amount, it's a variable, but the variance on it will be only a couple $1,000s.
But this particular self-insured program has invariably saved districts money?
Yes.
Okay.
Every public entity that I've converted over in the last 20 years has seen tremendous savings, but not only that, better outcomes for the injured employees.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So essentially, we would be self-insured for the first $400,000.
Correct, per
Where
claims.
previously, we were self-insured for the first 50.
Correct. A little difference, though, is that you had a deductible, so you actually did not have control over the claim. The insurance company did. Under this program, you would actually have control over your claim, which is a good thing. And the provisions, the settlements, and all that will be set up according to standard practice, mimicking what you have now to a certain level, which is a good thing.
And I know we've had this conversation before, but we have staff already in place to administrate this, so we won't have to add staff. So that's not a hidden cost, is an extra staff person.
Correct.
So is there an appellate process for a claim that is denied by the school district staff?
There is the Workers' Comp Commission, state.
Okay, so they're an arbiter for this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Arbiter or mediator, are we bound by?
If there is a claim that is denied, or what we call controverted, and the injured employee wants to argue it, then the attorney will take it up to the appellate division of the State Workers' Comp Commission, and they will assign a mediator.
I move to approve RFP 561-1920 Workers' Compensation TPA Services and RIS Software awarded to planned administrators with an initial term for 1 year with the option to renew for 6 additional one-year terms.
Second. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, respond by saying nay. The motion is approved by a vote of 3-0. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and return to session.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session, or we're now returned to regular session.
Get my ducks in a row. All right. So we're adjourned on the committee meeting. So now I'll entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion by Ms. Littleton, a second by Mr. McQuillan to return to regular session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. Now we'll move into committee reports. The next item on the agenda is a report from the Committee on Academics and Innovation, Chairwoman Ann Conder.
Madam Chairwoman, the Committee on Academics and Innovation met earlier this evening. On recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the Head Start budget expenditures report for March 2020, credit card report for March 2020, and Head Start supplemental summer school SF 424 application.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, Madam Chairman, I move to approve the second and final reading of 2020-2021 Berkeley County School District adoption of state textbooks as provided.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the first reading of 2020-2021 local board approved and innovative courses as provided.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, 8-0.
Also, on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve administration to deny foreign exchange student request until further request by administration.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, 7-1.
Madam Chairman, that concludes my report.
Next is the Committee on Finance and Human Resources, Chairman Michael Ramsey.
Madam Chairwoman, the Committee on Finance and Human Resources met earlier this evening, and on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the supply and travel allocations as presented.
There's a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. The ayes have it, 8-0.
Also on recommendation of the committee, I move to approve RFP 561-19-20, Workers' Compensation TPA Services and RMIS Software, awarded to Planned Administrators, Inc., with an initial term for 1 year with the option to renew for 6 additional one-year terms.
We have a recommendation from committee. No second is required. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. The ayes have it, 8-0.
Also on the committee met on Tuesday, May the 12th, 2020. On recommendation of the committee, I move to approve the first reading of the 2020-2021 general fund budget as presented by the administration.
We have a recommendation from committee, no second is required. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I hate to put you on the spot, Ms. Smith, but do we have any updates from the budget hearing? Have we gotten any updates from the state?
Unfortunately, no. I have not received any updates on state funding nor the hearing.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Barrow.
No, that's fine. I've had some people contact me about the presentation and the budget presentation from last meeting, and there was they wanted some clarification from the salary freeze. And it was my understanding that some of the folks contacted me and said that the origin of this freeze was from the South Carolina School Boards Association recommendation to the General Assembly. That's correct, isn't it?
That's correct.
That's my
And
understanding.
it was a recommendation, which obviously they don't have the power to enact law, but it's my understanding that upon that recommendation, the General Assembly did in fact enact that into law. Is that correct? Or is it a recommendation for
I think
districts?
it's just a recommendation. I mean,
The budget hadn't
but I
passed.
wouldn't say it's a
This-
matter of law.
The state budget hadn't passed because they haven't gone back to Columbia yet.
That's the whole key, is
So
we
I
haven't
think
done
it-
the budget.
So I think it's sitting in committee, it's sitting in the Senate Finance Committee.
So we have basically adhered to the recommendation at the local board to freeze until clarification, until the budget is fully passed?
They'll have to tell us the answer for that when they fund us. So we'll get, I would think we'll get like a thumbs up, thumbs down when we get the state funding information.
I got it.
They'll
See,
let us
there
know.
needs to be some clarity to the employees. And I didn't really know that either, so they were concerned, some of them, about the 2% step increase, which is another recommendation, I assume, to freeze that. Now, do the local boards have the flexibility to waive that if they decide to pay it out of their own coffers?
I think it'll depend on how they bring the legislation forward. I don't know.
Based on what other school districts are doing that I've spoken to, everyone is increasing salaries.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Ms. Smith. I just want some clarity. I just, because there's a lot of confusion out there.
I have spoken to other districts as well, and they are following the recommendation and freezing salaries and the 2%, or excuse me, it's not really a 2%, but the step increase as well. I can't speak for all districts in the state of South Carolina, but the ones that are very close to us are doing the same thing and following that recommendation.
So when the budget passes, we'll have more clarity and more flexibility, perhaps?
Possibly. I just want to remind you that I did present to you a balanced budget, so anything in addition to what has been presented would have to come out of fund balance.
Unless the state
Unless the state
provides more
provides
funding.
additional funding, yes, sir.
That was my point. If the
At this
state
time, I
provides
don't
it.
have any additional information from the state.
Okay. I think that satisfies most of the people's
Yeah, I think
questions.
I mean, as far as I understand, it is still sitting in the Finance Committee because they haven't convened back in Columbia
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
because we're in a state of emergency.
Yes,
And
ma'am,
they
that
won't
is
approve a
correct.
budget until the end of next month. They generally don't.
I would say we'll hear, our final budget hearing will be, and that's why it's set up the way it is, the last, basically Tuesday, so hopefully they will have acted by the time we act. If not, we'll have to pass a budget and then amend it
And amended, yeah.
if it doesn't, if they haven't acted in
Usually they
time.
wait till the last couple of days and then they by proxy or whatever means necessary, they have to do it at the last minute, and that's what they do, with a bunch of politics involved.
Yes, unfortunate. All right, any other discussion or questions for Ms. Smith? There will be two more, so we'll get an update in committee, there will be a public hearing, and then there'll be a final reading. So there'll be 3 more times. Hopefully, we'll get more information. and get it right, or as close to right as we can get it. And if we can't, we'll have to come back and amend it. And then we'll also hear additional capital information next time as well. Any other questions for Ms. Smith?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We are at lucky number 13, 13A. I will now hear a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Ramsey, a second by Ms. Littleton to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. The ayes have it, 8-0. We are adjourned. Thank you.